2, 4, 6. All right.
We're late.
Good evening, everybody. Would you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? And Matthew Jarvis, would you please lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Matthew. Well, good evening, everybody. This is exactly what we love to see, a packed house. We're going to have a great evening tonight. Most importantly, we're going to have a great civil discussion when we get to the... Oh, all right, I'll talk a little bit closer. Can you hear me now?
No.
The lights are on, but nobody's home. All right, can you hear me now? All right. I'll try to speak up. All right. Well, good evening, everybody. We're going to have a great evening for this community. One of the things we're going to do, obviously many of you are here for the PAC discussion. The public comment for the PAC, as you probably noted from the agenda, will be taken during that time in the agenda. So we do have the separate pink sheets for the regular city council meeting, and we have yellow sheets for those interested in presenting on the Performing Arts and Events Center issue, the awarding of the bid. So with that, we are now at the presentation stage. We've got King County Councilman and Sound Transit Board members Pete Von Reichbauer and Dave Upthegrove. Let's give them a big round of applause. They're here to give us an update on what's happening with the light rail issue. John?
Thank you, Mayor Farrell, and members of the council. I want to thank each and every one of you. Some years ago, I had the privilege of spearheading the campaign to make King County nonpartisan. And every major official in King County, except for the prosecutor, is now nonpartisan. The reason is I wanted to focus on regional issues, not regional parties. And we're here today to kind of point out the success of that project. Because Dave served in the legislature for 12 years as one party. I served for a number of years in the legislature of the other party. But over the course of his term on the county council and our mutual term on the Sound Transit Board, we both worked together on regional issues and focused on issues that are important to South King County. And so today we're going to talk a little bit about some of the successes we've had, particularly in the area of Sound Transit. And I want to particularly thank you and the Deputy Mayor, Gene Burbidge, for your leadership, because we were able to work together, his district and my district, because this city was unified. If this city was not unified on transportation needs, we would not have been as successful before the full board. So, Dave Upthegrove has been a leader from his member of the county council, primarily Burien, Des Moines, in that area, and I've had the privilege of representing South King County. But together we came together when there was a major challenge to whether or not we use Pacific Highway or I-5. And I want Dave to share some comments about why this happened, how this happened, and why we're successful working together as a region, focusing on issues, not party labels. Dave?
And I'll be brief because there's a lot of folks here for another issue, but after 12 years in the State House and now a year or so in the County Council, I'm best known for one thing. I'm the only elected official in the state with a prepositional phrase for a last name, if you remember your English classes. So Lord knows if I'm any good at this, but I've got this cool last name, so people keep voting for me, I guess. But one of my responsibilities as a council member has been to serve on the Sound Transit Board of Directors, and Councilmember Von Reichbauer and I represent, they call it the South Sub area. And we recently made a decision, I won't get into too many details, but want to review where we're at and next steps. We recently made the decision regarding where do the tracks go and where do the stations go for light rail once it comes south of the Angle Lake Station, the alignment and station locations. And anytime you put infrastructure through a crowded urban area, it's difficult. There are people who will be impacted. And we did our best to be fair and come up with a solution. As you know, we chose an alignment tucked over into the I-5 right away with the station locations on or near 99 at the college and at I-5 to 72nd Street. The reason we chose, and then back to the transit station, near the transit station here in the city. The reason the board unanimously voted for that alignment was because the cities worked together to bring us a common vision. You are the permitting agencies, and I think the board chose not to substitute our judgment in any way as a regional entity for the judgment of the local elected officials. So that was very powerful to have all 4 cities speaking with one voice asking for this alignment. The other reason I think it was selected is because it saves $350 million. That's more transit to more people by choosing that alignment. Some of the parts of it aren't ideal. For example, putting something out at I-5 at 272nd brings some challenges, but it also brings opportunities. Sound Transit amended our proposal to specifically focus on working together with the city and Metro on strategies to bring transit-oriented development to that 272nd corridor and make that connection work and make growth work. So hopefully that is an exciting opportunity. There are voices who have other options they would have preferred, so I think it's important to explain why we made the decision that we did. Next steps. This is the preferred alternative. Middle of next year, we will adopt the final alignment and location. Much of the design around the stations, exactly how they're configured, is still being discussed and to be decided. The city had some ideas around 272nd station about how that would be positioned. The final position near the transit station, as well as the precise location at Highline College. It's worth noting that this is funded to Highline College and planned to Federal Way, and it would take an act of the board and an act of the voters through Sound Transit 3 to decide to continue to fund it all the way to Federal Way and beyond. So it's been a pleasure to work with your council member, and look forward to working with you in the future.
I'd like to conclude by pointing out something that we've been very successful working on Sound Transit. He and I met for an hour before this meeting tonight to talk about another issue, King County's support of the arts. And David and I are going to work together to finally find some balance in finally getting substantial contributions to arts in South King County, including a project that might be on the agenda tonight. So David is committed to helping us get that.
At least I am now. At least I am now. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say arts and heritage.
There we go.
That's right.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Well, I just want to say, on behalf of all the people, on behalf of the council and city government and all the people who call Federal Way home, thank you very much for your leadership. We knew that this was a controversial decision about the alignment, and it's still working its way, but I very much appreciated both your leadership and your, your judgment on this issue, and just watching that process meander its way through. It was very interesting to, it was interesting to see. I think that you're right that the unanimity among the cities and on this council, I think, was very important in regard to that alignment. So, yeah,
it's been said that if you love sausage or the law, you don't want to know how either is made. Thank you.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
All right. Well, should we get a picture real quick? And why don't we? Can we do? I'll come down with the 2 gentlemen, and we'll have the council behind. You guys
Okay.
want to come in?
Photo op.
Okay, go ahead.
We do this in the county too. We proclaim things. Do you proclaim things?
Thank you.
Hey, Susan, that's not fair. I'm sorry. It's thinking outside the box.
Thank you.
I want to be taller than the mayor. Dee, did it work?
Are you really getting her a stool?
Yeah, she's on Monday.
Oh, there we go.
There we go. Good job, Dee. yours? Oh, it has wheels on it, no?
No, it just slides well. Maybe, yeah, I think it just slides well.
Exactly.
Can I give a talk?
Absolutely. You have my permission. Talk away.
There's actually a public comment period.
Yes.
It's not yet. They'll tell you when it is.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, you just have a seat and then they'll call you up and let you know.
Okay.
Test. It's not working, is it?
Do they know it?
All right, who turned off my microphone?
I don't. Mine's
Hello?
not.
Hello?
None of them are working. None of them are working. They're not working at all.
So should I go down there too?
Council meeting is canceled.
I bet there's one plug that
Mics
needs to be
aren't
plugged
working.
in.
Hold on. I think there's a... Test.
Hello?
Test.
Nope, still not on.
All right. Okay, we're just going to have to speak up. We'll go old school. The TV for the camera can hear, so that's important for the folks at home. And then we'll just remember to keep our voices up. Okay. If you can't hear, could you please raise your hand? And at some point, sometimes our voices will start to trail off. We are having that technical difficulty, but we're working on it right now. So let's go ahead and move on to the next item on the agenda. I'm not used to talking this loud all the time, promise. Proclamation, Domestic Violence Awareness Month, Federal Way Domestic Violence Task Force. Councilmember Honda will present to Doug Baxter, Task Force member. Councilmember Honda? I don't think that one's either.
Thank you. I was going to ask the task force to come up, but they're already doing that. All right. Whereas domestic violence is a serious crime that affects people of all races, ages, gender, and income levels, and whereas, according to the Washington Association of Sheriffs and Police Chiefs, police respond to about 50,000 domestic violence calls every year in Washington and approximately 2,100 domestic violence calls every year in the city of Federal Way. I feel like I'm yelling.
It's okay.
And whereas, even with the significant number of calls responded to by the police, 70% of domestic violence that occurs goes unreported. And whereas, although men and children can be victims of domestic violence, it is committed predominantly against women and is the leading cause of injury to women between the ages of 15 to 44 in the United States, more than car accidents, muggings, and rapes combined. And whereas children that grow up in violent homes are believed to be abused and neglected at a rate higher than the national average, and children that experience domestic violence are impacted in their education and are more likely to continue the cycle of domestic violence in dating relationships as youth and in adult relationships. And whereas each year medical expenses from domestic violence total at least $3 to $5 billion, and businesses forfeit another $100 million in lost wages, sick leave, absenteeism, and non-productivity. And whereas, in response to the prevalence of domestic violence in this community, the Federal Way Domestic Violence Task Force members have been working towards promoting prevention, victim safety, community awareness, and abuser accountability through organization, education, and outreach. Now therefore, we, the undersigned mayor and city council members of the city of Federal Way, do hereby proclaim the month of October 2015 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And we urge our citizens to recognize this critical problem facing our entire community, to work to prevent domestic violence, work to increase services to domestic violence victims and their children, and continue efforts to eliminate this crime, which affects all of us in our community, our state, and in our nation. Signed this 6th day of October 2015.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Council, for shining a spotlight on domestic violence in Federal Way. We are proud to say as a task force that Federal Way is a leader in domestic violence awareness. From our police to prosecutor's office to our courts, we are seen as a regional leader and are happy to say that we have been able to sustain interest in domestic violence awareness, even as other cities have lost task force and lost awareness on this issue. Together, the Federal Way Domestic Violence Task Force is working together to eliminate domestic violence in our community. But there is more to do. Kids who experience violence in their homes are not only more likely to become batterers or victims of domestic violence themselves, but the toxic trauma they experience contributes to poor health outcomes later on in life. We need to do more to stop this in our homes. The Federal Way Domestic Violence Task Force is committed to being part of the solution. It is sometimes way too easy to sit back, see something happening, and just say it's none of our business. We're here to say that it is our business. It's our business to ensure that Federal Way families live free from the threat of domestic violence. Thank you very much for recognizing the Domestic Violence Task Force and helping all of us reach our goal of ending domestic violence in Federal Way. Thank you.
Can we get a picture with the council?
Oh, with the council?
Yeah.
Should we have them come? Yeah, come on, you guys. Sure. What's that? Yeah. They're all so eager.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for what you do.
Thank you.
Thank you for everything you do.
Okay.
Smile.
Thank you for the work you do. Okay, and now we've got certificates of appointment for the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee. Deputy Mayor Burbidge.
Thank you very much. At the September 15th meeting, the council reappointed Mike Dunwoody, Richard Song, and Ryan Miller as voting members of the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee. And they are not able to be here this evening to accept their certificates of appointment. However, I will indicate the wording of the certificates, and the certificates will be sent to them. In accordance with Ordinance 04477, the City of Federal Way Mayor and City Council certifies that Ryan Miller, Mike Dunwoody, and Richard Song are hereby reappointed to serve as voting members of the Federal Way Lodging Tax Advisory Committee for terms to expire October 31st, 2017. And the certificates will be sent to them. We appreciate very much their good work.
All right, thank you very much. All right, and now it's time for my emerging issues and report. First is we've got some great numbers for our Mayor's Day of Concern for the Hungry. Before I just say anything else, I just want to say thank you so much to all of the folks in the community who gave so generously, members of the City Council who gave their time at the individual grocery stores, members of the public. I see Laura Mosier with Waste Management here, and my driver, who's here, so thank you for being here.
My driver too.
My driver too.
He's our driver.
Our driver, okay.
And he
Sounds
does a great job.
Yes.
Amazing. So with that, we've got Michael Morales, our Community Development Director, who's going to give us a brief report. Go, sir.
Good evening, Mayor Farrell, Deputy Mayor Burbidge, members of the City Council and community. My name is Michael Morales. I'm the Community Development Director, and just here to give you a little outcomes report on the 2015 Mayor's Day of Concern for the Hungry. Before I get into all the impressive statistics and the volunteers and the pounds collected, I would like to let you know that the real work done for this event from a staff end was with Jerry Lynn Clark, who works for the City Council and in our Human Services Department. Jerry Lynn's back here, and Lenny England in the Mayor's office. So this year's locations, we had 6 different locations around the city, as you'll see from these maps, at Hagen Foods, 3 Safeway stores of Fred Meyer and Twin Lakes, and the Walmart on 314th Street. And these are all staffed by a variety of volunteers from throughout the community who really stepped up to make this happen. In terms of total outcomes that we had compared to last year as well, we had places where we had no food, such as Hagen and Fred Meyer, where we ended up with 320 pounds and 1,020 pounds, respectively, all the way down to a total this year of 4,412 pounds compared to 8,522 pounds. We also had Waste Management Corporation, who was also doing pickups. That's compared almost double from what last year's collections were at 4,617. So just a real great statement by the community in terms of our caring for others and our willingness to give and come out on a Saturday afternoon or Saturday day to do that. The dollars that were raised, we also have cash donations, were also more than double from last year at $260.58, and this year we collected $670.71. So a lot of people coming in, and even if we missed them coming into the store, decided to drop some change into the jar afterwards, and that really helps to go a long way in helping families in need. We had over 60 volunteers that participated this year. This nice collage of pictures taken by Jerry Lynn from around the city. All just did a fantastic job in getting all of these things collected and staffing those sites throughout the day. Really appreciated the visits by the mayor and other elected officials, and we look forward to carrying out this event again in the future. So again, I want to thank you to the staff, Jerry Lynn and Lanny especially, for making this all happen, and all of you in the community who might have been a part of supporting this effort.
Thank you, Michael. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Laura, we've got Waste Management here, and they just did a phenomenal job. And actually, I was just really impressed with the outreach that they did. Laura, would you like to say a brief something?
I was going to do public comment.
Please go ahead. Let's do it now. Okay. We're talking about it.
So you guys all know I'm Laura with Waste Management. This is Alan Clark. He is one of your drivers, as you all pointed out.
He's our driver.
He's our driver, and Alan helped in the collection process. So this was our 8th year that Waste Management participated with the mayor and teaming up with the Mayor's Day of Concern for the Hungry and all the generous donations from the residents. We printed flyers. Hopefully you guys all got those on your cart and cans. And Alan was one of the drivers that did that, along with 5 other drivers we have every single day in the community. After all those flyers were distributed that week, the following week, all of our route managers went out and drove through all the neighborhoods in the community, and we tagged about 17,000 customers in the city that are Waste Management customers. And that following week, our route managers collected about 4,412 pounds of food, which was all delivered directly to the Multi-Service Center Food Bank. And we're really proud to say that, we served as a vehicle, as corny as that is, to get that food from the curb to the Multi-Service Center. And that food was donated from the community for the community. And I just think that that's really cool. We're really proud of our partnership with the city and participating in the Mayor's Day of Concern for the Hungry. And since its inception, when we first started doing this, we have collected 111,350 pounds of food that has all gone to the Multi-Service Center. And that is a big thank you to the residents in this community who are concerned about this community. We are very proud to be a part of this community and look forward to many more years of serving. So thank you very much.
Let's give Laura and Alan a big hand of applause. Thank you. Really appreciate all your work on behalf of the community. All right, we've got our next neighborhood connection meetings. Those are really the opportunities, town hall meetings, but we've been going out to the individual schools. Our next one is October 15th. That's a Thursday at Sacajawea Junior High at 7 p.m. Hope to see you there. 6 p.m. So 6 p.m., Sacajawea Junior High, Thursday, October 15th. and we're going to have presentations from the police chief, our public works director, and city staff, myself, and some other folks, and really talk about the issues that matter in that particular area. But people from around the community are welcome. So again, just Thursday, October 15th, 6 p.m. They're great opportunities. It's a really good opportunity for what we do is we bring the management team out to the neighborhood and be able to answer questions proactively right on the spot and make sure that we follow up. That's something that we're going to continue to do. The nice thing about it is if you can't make that meeting date, we actually record those, and they end up hosted by Kathy Arndt, my assistant, and they end up as New Day Federal Way material that you can see a little bit later. So that material will be on there as well. We had the Federal Way Farmers Market Chili Cook-Off. It was a great event. Boy, they just seemed like record numbers, and not only in turnout, but in regard to money raised. And a great time was had by all. Again, it was at the farmers market. And city's new website. We've got Steve McNair, Community Outreach Coordinator, who's going to give a brief presentation. We're in the midst right now, I want to just kind of tee this up. We're in the midst right now of selecting a firm and working to rebrand the city. One of the things that I noted right away, and in talking to the council as well, is that our city website really needed some work and really needed to be updated. And so we're in the process right now of putting the final touches on a launch of a new Federal Way website that will make not just the content but the visual aspect of Federal Way and your government at work much more presentable, much more easily accessible. So with that, Steve, would you please give us a brief overview of what the new website's going to look like?
Mr. Mayor, that's perfect. I think that's my presentation. So, we're good.
This is why they turned up my microphone.
That's exactly it. I'm actually pinch hitting tonight for Thomas, our IT manager, who was going to give this presentation. So I promise I'll try not to call it a web thingy. So we have, it's really neat. The new website, much more user-friendly. From a content management system, from the staff perspective, it's a lot easier to update the website and make it a lot more interactive for the users. Remember, we're a service provider organization, and we kept that in mind with the development of this website. So without getting too technical, I'd like to show you some of the aspects that are really fun and easy to use. This is the banner feature at the top of the website. The banner will scroll, and we can put different projects that are there for Federal Way. We have a Federal Way in the fall, which is just a welcome to Federal Way. This website, keep in mind, this is not a live website. We're in the process of developing it. So these are some of the tools we've used for the presentation tonight. But what will happen is when you come to the website, it'll look just like this, and each picture will hyperlink to a different section of the website to give more detail. So for the Welcome to Federal Way, we would click on that as a user, and it would take you to another page that would be a welcome message highlighting all the wonderful things in Federal Way. We also have going through, same thing with the Federal Way Performing Arts and Events Center. It would be hyperlinked out, telling more detail about that. We have the progress with the park, and as you can see, this picture was taken just last week with Town Square Park, and the progress that's being made is substantial. So as we go through, and we'll take different pictures, we have our staff goes out weekly and takes pictures. That's actually from the top of the transit center to show the public updates for Town Square. Moving down, it's really user-friendly. Each area will have, and this, we'll expand this out, but again, for example, tonight, we have a city council page, we have the police department, permits and licensing we've combined. We're trying to combine a lot of the different sections so we don't have multiple clicks. People get frustrated trying to find out. So we've really streamlined it. Employment, recreation, we can talk about parks. Moving down, these are some of our sort of emerging issues, or they're things that are coming up or things that have just passed. For example, Seattle Children's. Now again, we can hyperlink, and this will give you a neat little example, hyperlinking here. When you click on it, it'll take you to the Federal Way Mirror article. Now, in the future, that'll take you to our webpage and talk about what it is we're working on. But for the purposes of tonight, I wanted to show that this takes you to the article that was published about the ribbon cutting with Seattle Children's. Let me back up here.
That's a nice political ad.
Well, I was backing up here. The site is currently hosted in India, so it takes a little bit of time to get there. All right, here we go. Moving on down, we have a very user-friendly and interactive calendar. A lot of people come to Federal Way to see what's going on with our events or community programs. So the calendar is very easy to see. Scrolling down, we have the upcoming events scroll here where we've got Neighborhood Connection on as an example. And then we have our live Twitter feed, our live Flickr page, and the city's Facebook page. Again, the updates on Twitter and Facebook are about a recent article in the Tacoma News Tribune highlighting the university initiative. And then scrolling on down, external links were really important. For example, the Federal Way Community Center has its own webpage. So we have a link there to Dumas Bay, visit Federal Way Tourism. Federal Way Public Schools are not part of the city of Federal Way, but it's something that when people are looking at Federal Way, they're looking for different things going on in the city, they may want to go to the public schools. So we've added Federal Way Public Schools here so you can, again, link out to their page with a main menu on the bottom. This will have everything that's in the city on the bottom for people who scroll down. So coming back up to the top of the web page, very similar to our current web page, we have the different services. So for example, when you look at inside City Hall, each council member will have their own council page. So the city council has their website, and the council members will have their page as well, giving background and what they're working on. Going through city departments, it's all streamlined. Before, for example, we had on inside City Hall, you'd have to click on the mayor's office. If you're a business and you're wanting to come to Federal Way and you want to look at economic development, well, you don't want a bunch of clicks. You don't want to go, okay, well, how do I know? It's inside City Hall, mayor's office, economic development, and then the program. That takes too much time. It's frustrating. We want to make it user-friendly. So what we're in the process of doing now is doing an analysis of the old website and all of the services we offer, and then in a much more user-friendly way, linking those and having different pages so that people can have less clicks, less time spent on the website. So it's really neat. With the branding effort, the website can adapt. So if we have a different logo, for example, maybe go with a different color scheme, the website can adapt. So that is my, in layman's term, program. I've written a lot of the things on the website so far. I find it much easier to use. It's a lot better.
All right, Council, any questions for Steve? Councilmember Martin Moore.
I'll just leave this mic on just in case for the TV sake. No, great work on this, Steve. I know that I've been talking to you for a little while about the need of a website. I know it's already perhaps on your mind. And you know, the thing that I'm hearing is that this is going to be much more easier for the public to handle, for business people to handle, and I appreciate that. I think efficiencies and having people get to things quicker, I think is really important. I know that I've heard some individuals talk about how it's hard to understand some things, hard to get to the information. So it sounds like, and I hope that this will continue to address this and continue to make this as easy as possible and interactive for citizens. So thank you for your effort on that, and with Thomas and anybody else in the mayor's office.
Thank you.
All right, great job, Steve. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, and if anybody either watching this here or is watching this on TV now or at a later time, feel free to contact our office and we can provide you with information about the individual details. All right, now for the first set of public comment that is not related to the PAC, I've got three pink sheets, and I'll go ahead and read them off, and then they'll be in this order. First, Mr. Gary Robertson. Mr. Robertson, and then, oh, well, Laura already spoke, and then the next, Norma Blanchard. Evening, Gary.
Good evening, council members. I was glad to hear the news about Sound Transit and the initiative they have made towards getting light rail down to Federal Way. The disappointing part is the fact that it's a long time coming, and I only wish that King County had addressed this issue when Portland was building their light rail, because if you've ever been down there, it's pretty good. And like I say, they did it, 20 years ago or whatever. And I wish that's when we had started developing our initiative to match what they were doing. Unfortunately, I believe my recollection proves me right. The voters had an opportunity to do that, but they shot it down. And that was very disappointing to me because when I saw that happen, I thought it was a lack of foresight and the fact that it was only postponing the inevitable. But I'm glad finally, we're getting around to dealing with our traffic issue, which brings up my other point, and that is the one hang up in Federal Way where traffic congestion is the worst, and that's a triangle intersection. And specifically, like when I go to Costco, I have to go north to south, and that's a major headache because a lot of times, even during non-rush hours, it takes 2 to 3 lights to get through that intersection because the light only lasts like 30, 45 seconds, which is way too short. And then at rush hour traffic, I've seen it backed up all the way back to Pack Highway. And that's like, 2 miles or whatever? So think how long it's taking them to get through. So I hope you'll make this a major priority issue when you deal with this traffic congestion issue, because it's only going to get worse. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gary. All right, now, let's see. Norma Blanchard.
I'm Norma Blanchard, a longtime resident of Federal Way, and at the last council meeting, I wasn't here, I was watching it at home. And they had a discussion about the park that was a park that isn't a park that's going to be a park. Water, whatever. And so as I was watching it, I was thinking, hey, they're having a real lively discussion there. And then the next one that came up was a rebranding. That was a lively discussion too. And then I got to thinking back in January when the discussion at the retreat, the discussion about term limits, was about 2 minutes, 3 minutes. But then I got to thinking, I bet you that the mayor got on the internet and took a course in how to hold a discussion, because that one was one. And I still am burned up about it because we didn't get what we deserved on that. Maybe in January, the next one, when something comes up, they will have a discussion. Because then there was only, in last January, there was only 2 people that made statements, no discussion. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Norma. I'm studying away at home. All right. All right, now, the consent agenda, items A through C. They read minutes of the September 15, 2015 regular and special meeting minutes. By the way, we got our microphones to work, so good news. Item B, monthly financial reports, August 2015. And item C, vouchers, August 2015. Deputy Mayor Burbidge, do you have a motion?
I do. I move approval of items A through C on the consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Those pass unanimously. Before we go any further, I do want to recognize our state representative, Linda Kochmar, who's present in the audience. Hi, Linda. Let's give her. All right. All right. And now, as they say, the main event. Council business. Yes. Oh, sir. Yes. Would you please tell us your name?
My name is O.B. Malott.
Yes.
Hammerhead. I'm here to speak on a couple of matters today, but first of all, I'd like to read a little story. I spent 15 minutes on the line with a financial broker today because going through my uncle's papers, I found that I owned stock in American Can, Columbia River Water Company, Interstate Gas, and Northern Paper Company. Pretty good. So let me read this to you. It's Squat and Leave It Incorporated. Dear stockholder, previous records show that you are holding shares in the following companies: American Can, Columbia River Water, Interstate Gas, Northern Paper Company. Because of certain market conditions at the present time, we advise that you sit tight on the American can, hold your water, and let go of your gas. You will no doubt be interested that the Northern paper issue touched a new bottom today, and that hundreds were wiped clean. Yours very truly, P. Moore, President and Manager, Squat and Leave It, Inc., Phil Potts, Associate. I guess I'm not rich after all. Anyway, I'm here. I got two traffic comments. One is I want the council, I would request of the council that they pass a law requesting Bonneville Power to put in tunnels, bridges, or the blinking light system so that we don't hold traffic up and waste thousands and thousands of gallons of gasoline. The next is on the 8th Avenue and South 312th, there's a light that works all by itself, and it doesn't care if there's people there or not, it just runs. I think that it should be put on a demand system. Then last, there's going to be a person talking at the Mormon Tabernacle this weekend at 9 o'clock a.m. Sunday. It seems that we have passed the midpoint of the Milky Way and have entered paradise. What this means,
Go ahead, Mr. Miller, go ahead.
What this means is that, as spoken of in the Bible, the world is going to go through a new creation, and that basically nobody's going to die from here on. The dead are going to come back, and yeah, laugh. You'll find out. Anyway, 9 a.m. There'll be an archangel there to do some talking. Thank you.
Thank you, Orville. All right. Okay, now it's time for the main event. We are now going to talk about the bid award for the Performing Arts and Event Center construction bid award. First, there'll be an introduction by Chief of Staff Brian Wilson. Brian?
Thank you, Mayor, Council, citizens. It's a tough act to follow. The business item before Council this evening is to recommend the construction bid award to Garco Construction to build the Performing Arts and Events Center. The Council authorized the planning and construction of the PAC for the amount up to $32.75 million on June 3rd, 2014. A finalized pro forma and operational budget plan following the findings of the Blue Ribbon Panel and various consulting services will be presented to Council at a later date. We do have several members of the Blue Ribbon Panel that are with us tonight. If you could stand, we have Susan Streifel, Kathy Ferrari, Mildred Olay, Pam Smith, and Dave Berger. We have three that were not able to attend, Brian Bullard, Steve Lewis, and Rob Harpster, but I wanted to publicly recognize the representatives that are here today from the Blue Ribbon Panel. We have two staff presentations this evening. The first from Finance Director Ade Alarillo regarding the PAC capital funding update, and then followed by our Deputy Public Works Director Will Appleton, who will discuss the bid process and the recommendation of the mayor to request authorization to award the bid to construct the PAC. There is good news this evening regarding where we are today. The recommended bid is below the $32.75 million that was authorized by council in June of 2014. Our capital funding plans are on target, including our ongoing pursuit of new market tax credits, the exploration of public-private partnerships, and extensive fundraising activities. These efforts will occur over the next 4 years with the goal to bring the necessary level of bond funding to up to $9 million or to zero. And our goal is to get to zero. We have a well-qualified construction company that's been identified as the low bidder, and we do have representatives from Garco Construction who are here with us today, and I'd like to recognize them here. We have Hollis Burnett, who's the vice president of the company, Dan Lambert, the program manager, Lenny Arneson, the project supervisor, and Sean LaRue, the project support. We also have our owner representatives who have been with us for many months on this project from Lorax Partners, PJ Santos, our project manager, and also Brian Fall, our construction manager. All of the contemplated additional features that were under consideration for the PAC are included in the bid that's going to be presented this evening, which is just a tremendous success story in terms of presenting this bid for council approval. So with that, I'd like to introduce first Ade Arillo, our finance director for the budget update, and followed by Will Appleton.
Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Council, and the public. What I'm about to present to the Council today, for starters, is to share what we showed you in June and last year, so that we can compare their financial information as of June this year and last year and compare it to where we are today. And from there, for the council to take the next step. On June 3rd, 2014, the council authorized the planning and the construction of park for up to $32.75 million. That is done. The question before the council today is awarding the contract to the lowest bidder still within the total budget originally approved, since the council has approved the construction at $32.75. So the question is, by awarding the contract today, will you be exceeding that $32.75? Secondly, does the plan allow time for further fundraising, efforts to further reduce the bonding amount when and if needed? These are part of the question that the council has challenged us to say, well, we need to explore all the avenues to reduce the debt or the future debt to the city. So part of the question is whether by you awarding this, are we still within this funding? Will we still have the ability to raise additional money? I will try to answer that question. Has the previously presented funding source plan greatly changed, and how? In June this year and last year, we outlined some funding sources for you. So the question is, are those funding sources still the same, or have they changed? And if they've changed, how? On May 8, 2014, the Finance Subcommittee reported that the city has sufficient funds to build a project without additional taxes, even the panel's most conservative fundraising scenario. The city has lined up 19.07 million of the 31.85 million construction cost. Working with the finance subcommittee, the finance director reviewed project budget projections and financing. Over the short term, the city can enact a temporary loan to itself to finance 12.78 million funding gap, enabling construction to proceed. This was a press release last year. Again, last year, these are part of the funding packages that we presented to you. We're saying we will have about 19 million available, and we will have 12.78, almost 13 million to be funded. And that is likely, and the potential is the next column. So we're seeing it's likely to raise 2.25 million in naming rights, and there's potential to raise up to 3.5 million. And the likelihood of raising $750,000 in fundraising and potential for up to $1 million. And the likelihood of $1 million in grant and potential for 1.5. And also likelihood of not having anything in new market stock credit and potential for up to 7.2 million. This is the information that I presented to you last year. It was on these analyses that we said, okay, if we were to have the likely funding, there will be a gap of 8.78 million, that there's a possibility of bonding about $9 million. That is what we presented to you on the information that we approved the construction of 32.75 million. And we are saying if we're able to get 7.2 in tax credit, we won't need any bonding at all. That was the information presented to you. With that information, we said, well, if we were to bond for 9 million for a 20-year at a 3%, the annual debt service would be 600,000. And if we were to finance it over 10 years, it would be a little bit over $1 million. That is what it was then. And the bottom right here is the breakdown of the total of that 32.7 million. July of 2014, the council approved resolution 14-667. That is what would temporarily fund the construction of the project for a temporary interfund loan of 13 million over a 3-year period. The council has decided and has approved this interfund loan. Those are all the decisions that you've made and some of the information available to us then. As of the end of September, we've raised an actual cash in the city's account, about 12.5 million. This is the makeup of that money. Now, looking at the structure of our funding, we're saying we have about 12.5 million in the current receipt. And through the effort of the council and the mayor and the citizens, we have commitment from the state for $4 million. Which before.
I would also just that the state legislature had also provided the $5 million for the land. So we've received $9 million from the state so far.
In total, yes. But $5 million for the land is not included in the 32.75. So in addition to the state money and the cash that we have on hand, these are other funding that are pending. For culture, about $2 million, which we should know we'll be able to finalize that before the end of the year. The same thing with the CDBG, $3 million. We'll be able to know that before the end of the year. We're also anticipating the sale of a parcel of land for the hotel for about 1.5, and the naming right. Remember, on the likely and the potential that I showed you in the previous information, there's a potential for naming right of up to 3.5. If we do this, we have additional 10 million that are pending now. So with that 10 million and 16 million that we have committed and cash receipt, these are also other funding that we're going after. The fundraising that we were anticipating last year was about $750,000 and potential for $1 million. The committee has raised almost that $750,000 already, which is really, I think, for their effort, very impressive. We're hoping between now and maybe in 4 years to be able to have additional fundraising of maybe 1.2 million. The gap between all the numbers that I've read and the 32.7 million is the 4.5, which, as our Chief of Staff mentioned, we're still pursuing the new market tax credit. We are pursuing public-private partnership. We are pursuing any other available funding sources to make sure that, if it's possible, we will have zero bonding. With that, we have 16.48 in committed, we have 10 million in pending, and we have 6.27 in other funding, with our total of 32.75. So the 16.48, we'll be able to use part of that for the design, development, and management, and we'll be able to use part of that for construction. The pending, we'll be able to use part of that too for construction, and the 6.27 million also will be able to pay for the contingency, the taxes, and part of the construction. Now, between now, if the council were to approve, award the contract, and we break ground on October 21st, based on the interfund loan that the council has already approved, I estimate that the forced drawdown of the interfund loan will not happen until maybe towards the end of next year. Based on that resolution that the council has passed, which is supposed to last 3 years. So between now and when we're supposed to pay that interfund loan totally, we have 4 years. What this means is the 6.27 million that I pointed out to you earlier, we have 4 years to do private fundraising, public partnership, to do additional fundraising, to go after the new market tax credit. So we have 4 years between the time that we break ground till when we're supposed to repay that interfund loan, because the guidelines on the interfund loan is due in 3 years from the first time that we take the first draw. So if the first draw happens sometimes in November next year, the loan will not be due until November 2019. Even if we were to take the worst scenario, again, based on the information that we've shared with the council before, that if we were to bond 9 million, how much will debt service be? We were looking at 9 million before. I pointed out under other 6.27. That means if we don't raise any other money, we're not going after the private partnership, we're not getting new market, we're not doing anything. If we were to bond 6.27 million, it would turn out to be about $421,000 a year using 3% as the interest rate. That is still low compared to the $600,000 that we were looking at last year. In conclusion, I asked a couple of questions at the beginning. Let's see whether we've answered those questions. Awarding the contract is still within the original budget amount of $32.75. The city has approximately 4 years to do additional fundraising. So it's not as if whatever it is that we do now, we're supposed to be able to cover all of that up. We have, between the time that we break ground and 2019, to be able to raise additional money. And whatever it is that we don't raise is what may be bonded at that time. So based on the cash on hand, funds committed, and those other funds that we're going after, the city's potential bond amount is less than the originally estimated, which is the $9 million. So from this, I think the funding capacity is better today than it was in June. It's better today than it was last year. And I'll be glad to answer any of your questions.
Council, any questions? Councilmember Honda? And before you ask that, I see a hand in the back. We don't normally handle questions just from the audience, but if you have a question, we can get it answered if you fill out a pink sheet. Okay? I'm sorry, yellow sheet. Thank you. Councilmember Honda.
The sale of the hotel pad, I've heard two different things, that it could be under the Target's property or the PAC property. What is it going to fall under?
The hotel pad that we're hoping to sell will come out of the TC3. And I think the beauty of that is we had some issue with parking before. By using the space behind the Performing Arts Center actually has provided us more additional parking spots. So the portion that we will sell will come out of this TC3 property.
Ade, can you please explain what you mean by TC3?
TC3 is the property next to the Performing Arts Center, which is the Target property.
Didn't I just see, though, that included the $1.5 million for the hotel into the PAC funding?
Yes.
1.5 of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what did we anticipate it being sold for?
So we will sell a portion of that towards this for the hotel to support this. And from there, we're hoping whatever it is that we sell, whatever program we have on that land, we will be able to recoup the amount that we pay for it plus this 1.5 million.
Okay.
Councilmember Duclos.
Thank you very much for your presentation, Mr. Adwala. It's very good. One question. If we didn't, say the worst possible scenario, we didn't get the new market tax credits and we had to bond, where would we, as the Finance Committee Chair, from what source would we take money to make the payments?
For the $421,000,
yeah.
I think we'll be able to support that through the current revenue in the general fund, the current revenue from the utility tax, the current revenue from the sales tax. We'll be able to cover that.
Thank you. I think it's important for people to hear that we do have revenue coming in that could cover the debt.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, Councilmember Selsky.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Ade, for the presentation. Just a question about the pending project funding. There are two items on there, the sale of the hotel pad and the naming rights, and I'm wondering if you or somebody could describe the effort of selling these two things, and these two items, and any progress we've made to date on them.
I think some of the efforts, and the Chief of Staff may be able to speak more to that. I think we have developed some brochures that we were trying to sell or market the property. And I think the approach that we are taking is, let's put our efforts on one at a time. I think when we finish, between the Chief of Staff, myself, the Economic Development Director, and even Public Works Director, I think we work as a team. And I think we go at about 120 miles an hour. So I think when we put the construction of this performing arts project to bed, we'll be able to go after both the naming right and the sale of the pad.
Okay.
And I
So
think
you
our
seem
chance would be
pretty
really
confident
good.
that that's.
Councilmember Suski, I can supplement that to a degree in that one of the things as we were out at the bid process for Town Center 3 was one of the things we were hearing was that the developers needed to hear what the final outcome of the PAC vote was, and they also one of the extra steps we took is a hotel study that this council authorized. That hotel study is complete and will be shared with multiple hoteliers after this vote. So this would really be the kind of the first in the dominoes to fall. So first the PAC, then the hotel, then the TC3 development.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And just so that I think if we had sold the land before this development, we will have undersold the property. I think by developing the park building property actually puts value on the additional property. Now, if the council were to award the bid, I think that is what you send signal to developers or whoever that will buy the next property that something is being built right here. And that is part of what will increase the value. If we had sold it before the council made the decision, I think we would have undersold the property at much less value than it will cost after the council's decision.
Council, any other questions? Aday, thank you. All right. Next, we have Will Appleton, who's the project manager, to briefly go through a bid award presentation. Then we will have citizen comment.
Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and Council. This evening, I'm before you to request authorization to award the construction contract for the Federal Way Performing Arts and Events Center. Specifically, the policy question in front of you is, should City Council authorize staff to award the Federal Way Performing Arts and Events Center project to Garco Construction Incorporated, the lowest responsible bidder, in an amount of $24,158,160, which includes Washington state sales tax, and approve a construction contingency of 7.4%, totaling $1,780,370, and authorize the mayor to execute the contract. We went out on August 19th with this bid package, and we collected those bids up on September 22nd. And I'm very pleased to announce that during that process we received 8 bids on this project, which more than met our expectations, and those bidders are listed here. All of them are from within Washington, and various locations are shown. The bid format that this took was, we asked for the contractors to provide a base bid, which was the building and the on-site improvements, followed by 5 alternate bid items. And those alternate bid items are shown here: an orchestra pit lift, a metal cladding system, off-site work, shortening the project duration, and hearing induction loops. I'd like to talk just real briefly on each one of these and what they are. The orchestra pit lift is the mechanism that sits in the orchestra pit that allows for the seating to be raised and lowered. If the pit is being used by an orchestra, obviously the seating is lowered and not present, And if the orchestra is not present, then we're able to operate the lift and add more seating to the auditorium. The metal cladding system, this is an alternate that took a look at a proprietary cladding system, which basically cut costs with respect to construction, but it's a proprietary system, so the cost of the system is a little bit more. We added this alternate in because what we wanted to do was explore that space and try to determine whether or not a conventional construction method, which is more labor intensive, is approximately the same cost. If they turned out to be the same cost, then we probably would go ahead with the proprietary system for ease of construction and just give us some advantages on the project schedule. Alternate 3, off-site work. This is work that's associated with the PAC that has to do with the right-of-way improvements. So sidewalk, curb, and gutter improvements, roadway improvements around the periphery of the PAC. And shortening project duration, I think, is self-explanatory. This is reducing the project schedule down. And then a hearing induction loops. This is a kind of a cutting-edge system, right? This type of a system has been in place actually for a little while now, and really what that is it assists the hearing impaired. They're able to tune into this system so that they can better hear the presentation and the performances, and it really kind of cuts out all of the background noise. So this is a really, really key piece for this type of a facility. And so the bid results. The bid results are shown here in order, with Garco Construction coming in with the lowest bid at $22,094,000. So this bid, the low bid, was determined based on a summation of the base bid plus alternates 1, 3, and 5. And then the other thing I would point out with this grouping of bids is that we had 4 bids that were approximately within about 2.3% of each other. That's a really good indication that the bidders were thoughtful in how they approached this project, and I think this makes a strong case that we're going to have a very successful project. We're not getting a low-ball contractor in here on this project, so this is a really good sign that we're for the future project success. So as I said, this is basically a detailed breakdown of Garco Construction's bid. And as I said here, and you can see down below, the low bidder is established based on the sum of the base bid plus alternates 1, 3, and 5. And the base bid was $21,490,000 for the facility and the on-site improvements. The orchestra pit lift alternate adds another $193,000. Alternate 2 for the metal cladding system would add another $86,000. Off-site work, $366,000. Shortening the project duration, there was no cost associated with that. And the hearing induction loops, the cost associated with that was $45,000. The recommendation of staff and the mayor is not to include alternate 2, in that essentially for this cost, it really doesn't make sense. We end up with the same product, the same quality, with a conventionally constructed system versus a proprietary system, and the $86,000 additional is not being recommended as something we'd want to accept. So at this point moving forward, we're looking at the low bid as $22,094,000. So just to talk briefly, I know you've heard quite a bit about the project budget, but just to remind you what that budget is. On June 3rd, 2014, Council approved Resolution number 14665, authorizing the development of the Performing Arts and Conference Center, and essentially authorized the mayor to enter into contracts up to $32,750,000 for the design and construction of the PAC. And so working within that budget, this is what our project expenditures look like. To date, we've either spent or obligated approximately $5.5 or $5.6 million. This is in project design and development. With respect to construction, if we take the Garco bid and add that in, we have the base bid of $21,490,000. Alternates 1, 3, and 5 add in another $604,000 to that. Alternate 4 has no value associated with it, or no dollar value associated with it. Alternate 2, we're recommending not accepting. And then we also need to include in state sales tax in an amount of $2,000,000 $64,160 for a subtotal of $158,160. Some of the other items that are included in this are shown here. Construction and project management, $826,000. The contingency / FF&E of $1,780,000. And I'd like to just touch a little bit upon what this number is. So the contingency of 7.4% in this amount is an adequate contingency for a project such as this. Ideally, we won't be spending any of the contingency. Reality would suggest that we'll spend some of the contingency. In order to have a contingency of this amount and to stay within the $32.7 million that was authorized for the budget, what we've done is we've pulled together contingency money with the FF&E, or the owner's allowance money. The FF&E money won't need to be spent until the latter third or so of the project.
Excuse me, could you say what FF&E is in case some people don't?
I'm sorry. FF&E, furnitures, fixtures, and equipment. So essentially everything that is loaded into the building to make it operable. So tables, phones, computers, chairs, forks, knives, napkins, things such as this. All very important when you don't have them. So what we've done here is we've folded contingency and FF&E together. This allows us to have an adequate contingency going into this project. And as we move through the project risks will go down. And as those risks go down and we enter into the latter part of the project, we will then start to look at removing contingency money and coming to council with an FF&E list for your approval, and the funding to fund the acquisition of those items on the list would then come through this funding source. So a worst case scenario, we spend all of the contingency. I'm back in front of you explaining why that is, and probably asking for more money for FF&E. That's an absolute worst case scenario. Don't expect that ever to happen. Best case scenario, I spend very little of the contingency. We have more than enough money for FF&E, and in fact, we have significant project savings. And that's really the direction where we're headed with this. So I think this is a prudent approach, and provides us an adequate contingency for this type of project. The last item on this is also the 2% for the arts shown here, for a total cost of $32,749,999. So Chief Wilson mentioned that there's good news tonight, and there really is with this project. We have the project team has managed to grind on this to the extent that we have included what amounts to about $1.8 million worth of additional items above and beyond what was originally contemplated when the scope of work was put together and the budget of $32.7 million was assigned to it. So shown here are some of those additional features. I'll just quickly point them out. We looked into future expandability of the building. We shifted the building midway through design. That's not a cheap process, but I think we're really have a little bit of foresight here, a little more foresight, and this was something that we added. We also added utility stub outs on the back side. We also added a full kitchen. We added 2% for the arts. That was not originally contemplated in the original budget. We added additional parking. So originally, this area was contemplated to be sold off for a hotel. That's not happening now. We're looking more towards TC3 for that parcel. As a result, that area needs to be paved and needs to be turned into a parking lot. That was never contemplated in the original project budget. We were able to incorporate that in and fit that in. We also incorporated enhanced audio and visual, the hearing loop system, the orchestra pit lift system, 16 additional seats. Also, we voluntarily, the city elected to go with a 10% apprenticeship requirement. This is something the city is not obligated to do. This is something the state does. We went ahead and did this to tip our hats to basically those people coming up through the trades and making sure that they have opportunities with this project.
So that will be part of the contract. And last but not least, this project can accommodate solar panel retrofits in the future if council elects to go down that path. That's something that the project can be retrofitted with. So a lot of additional features, approximately 1.8 million worth. So the last piece to this puzzle was really to do our due diligence with respect to Garco Construction. And I'm really excited about this company. They come out 5 stars, nothing bad to talk about. Frankly, everything is good news. Excellent company, one that does a large volume of work, $200 million a year. Past projects support the ability to perform successfully. They've done many projects that are similar in size and scale. Above average client satisfaction and performance. Solid performance managing subcontractors. That's a really big deal when we talk about a project like this. A general contractor that knows how to adequately manage subs is very important. Garco has a good reputation based on what we've heard of being able to do that. They have a satellite office in Tacoma. The only downside is they're from Spokane. But they have a satellite office in Tacoma, and they have worked with L&M architects, the architects that we've employed on this job. And so L&M has nothing but good things to say about them as well. So they are a responsible bidder. So moving forward, if council were to elect to award this contract this evening, that would put us at award tonight, and notice of award would be sent out to the contractor tomorrow, October 7th. From there, we would go ahead and issue notice to proceed October 20th. We're looking at a groundbreaking on October 21st, and then we're looking for project completion in the summer of 2017. So with that, the mayor's recommendation is to award the Performing Arts and Events Center project to Garco Construction Incorporated, the lowest responsible bidder, in the amount of $24,158,160, including state sales tax. Approve a 7.4% contingency /FF&E of $1,780,370 and authorize the mayor to execute all necessary documents. And I would be happy to answer any questions that you may have at this time.
And before we go any further, I need to make sure that we excuse Councilmember Maloney. She was out of town on business and could not attend tonight's meeting, so she's excused.
Okay.
So with that, Councilmember Honda, and then we'll ask Councilmember Duco. Councilmember Honda.
Thank you. Thanks for the presentation. The 2% for the arts, I'm very glad it's included. A much wiser council than us. Well, not that we're not wise, but they included 2% for the arts of any projects built in Federal Way. A lot of cities have 0.5% or just 1%, so it was great to have 2%. I would like to see the Arts Commission fully involved in the decision of and discussion of how that money is going to be spent, and also the council. I know that there's some ideas of where that could go now, and I don't disagree with those ideas, but I do think we need to involve the Arts Commission and the council in those discussions. Also, if the building is not done on time, will there be any fines for the construction company or any actions that we would take? And my last question is, when we add up all of the costs for this project, the building, the land, the finance costs, what do we anticipate? And I know that you don't have a final total, but what could we anticipate the final project cost to be?
Okay, I will start with the first question. I believe our PAC director is working closely with the Arts Commission, has met with them already once, and will be coordinating those funds to work with them in order to determine what the size and scope of the public art will be. And so we have plenty of time to have that discussion, and so I think so that will be exactly as you kind of requested. And the second question, with respect to the project schedule, yes, the contract does have clauses that allow for liquidated damages and such if the contractor is not meeting schedule. I don't like to ever kick off a project with a whip, but I think that we have adequate time for this project. I think the contractor has already indicated a willingness to try to get this project done sooner. But the contract does have built an ability to penalize the contractor essentially if the project goes over schedule. There are other types of damages that occur should they go over schedule, and for example, if we started to already program acts into the art center, yeah, then there's a whole nother set of damages that can be incurred. So, but we'll work closely to avoid ever having to have that discussion. With respect to your last question and the overall budget, I think within the 32.7 million, we have virtually everything accounted for, with the exception of the purchase of the property, and there are likely a few other items that are much less in cost than that, that those funds perhaps were spent prior to the 32.7 being approved. We can work to get you that number, but I believe that the 32.7, the numbers are that pretty much covers everything with the exception of the purchase of the property. But I will work with a day to ferret out the exact number for you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Duclos.
Yeah, I'm. Thank you very much. It's a great presentation. I'm glad to see the numbers, and I'm very happy on the numbers. This is very surprising. We do have time to pay these things back. It gives us time to get new market tax credits, because when you go in for low-income housing tax credits and new market tax credits, the closer the project is ready to go, that's what they really like, and the better your chances are of getting money. If you're 2 years out, you're not going to get an award. If you've broken ground and you're starting to build and they see the city is putting money into it and other people are putting money into it, it really makes our case a lot stronger. Of course, there's a lot of other things that are involved, and they have to be funding this particular area at the time, but it really does give us a leg up in getting the new market tax credits, which could even bring down more of this than what we might have to bond. I'm very pleased to see the way the money came in, and it's time to get this project going. If we delay any longer, the price just goes up. This is something that people have been working on for a long time. We started looking at this my first term on the council. I remember we took a bus trip up to Mount Vernon, McIntyre Hall, because I remember talking to Councilmember Burbidge. We originally, just a little history here, the original project were two separate ones. One was for a performing arts and one was for a convention center. And when I read both of them and saw the cost of them, and that was a long time ago, it was a lot less then, I was talking with Councilmember Burbidge, and I said, I wonder if we could combine the two. And she said, well, yes, there is such an example. And we did take a field trip up there and met with them and saw the facility. I think this facility is going to be nicer than that one. So I'm pleased to see the money, and I'm very glad that we have added money into that contingency. We don't have to spend it, but you never know when you start breaking ground what you're going to find. I don't care how many tests you do in the soil, and when you start, architects, I love you. You do a wonderful job in drawing things, but when you estimate the cost, you're not as good as a contractor. And again, there are some things that just come up that you can't account for, and so I'm glad to see that contingency. I think we have a solid budget here, and I will be voting in favor.
Councilmember Moore and then Councilmember Selski.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And thank you to what appears to be less than 100 people here for being here. I appreciate that. And Will and Day and Chief of Staff Wilson, and certainly the mayor, and I hope I'm not forgetting anybody else. Thank you. Thank you for your tireless efforts in this project. It is certainly, as I've always said, a long time coming. And I know that we're getting very close to groundbreaking very, very soon. I guess I'll follow it up with just two questions to elaborate on, and then a comment followed by that, if that's okay, Mr. Mayor. My first one is on the additional features slide. It says can accommodate solar panels in the future. I just wanted to have you kind of elaborate that and what that means, and then followed by the same question for the 10% apprenticeship requirements. I know you briefly mentioned about it, but I just wanted you to kind of enlighten us a little bit more with that.
So with the I guess the ever improving technological advances with respect to solar panels, retrofitting a building of this nature with the roof line that this building has is not a daunting task. It simply requires the appropriation of the amount of funds necessary to purchase that type of equipment. With this project, it's easy enough to add some conduit to get the potential wire runs back into the control room, and that would be really the only thing that we would need to plan ahead for. Coming back and again retrofitting the building would really just be a matter of getting council on board with that, and council wanting to take that direction, and we can explore that at that time. The good news would be that by the time this project is constructed, I'm sure the cost of solar panels will have come down and the technology will have improved. With respect to the apprenticeship requirement, so really this requirement is part of the contract. It obligates the contractor to make sure that they hire at least 10% of their labor force at an apprenticeship level. This actually plays well with Garco Construction because Garco Construction is a union shop and they have an apprenticeship program, and so I think this really fits hand in glove. This should be a good experience. That said, Councilmember Moore, I also know that you're concerned about local hire, and my understanding is that for buildings of this type, construction projects of this type, they oftentimes do look within the local area for assistance in labor, and so I'm sure they will be doing that as well.
Hey, and with my comments, if I may, I'm grateful. I know that I've talked to yourself. I know I've talked to Chief Wilson and to the mayor about solar panels, and the fact that it's getting attention I think is important. The fact that it's easy to accommodate and retrofit the building I think is a good start, and the fact that there's going to be conversations to be had in the future I think is a great thing. And so I appreciate you always answering my emails, and of course with the chief of staff as well, and really with the apprenticeship. Federway is a very unique and special city. We have a lot of people that could really benefit with apprenticeship opportunities. And we have a lot of talented students. A lot of them are scholars, a lot of them are ready to go take on the world through college, and a lot of them want to get their hands dirty. And I think I'm so glad to hear the background of Garco. So way to go. Thank you for stepping up and supporting our labor unions. And I think that's important to me. And just wanted to close my statement by saying thank you for listening to me on those issues. I know everything has to start somewhere, and I appreciate that a lot. And I'm really excited. I'm going to be voting yes. I'm going to continue voting, supporting this because this is going to build our community. This is what's going to build a brighter future for Federway. This is what I call forward-thinking leadership and movement. And really, this is going to allow us to continue to build a strong economy for Federal Way, which means that we'll have great revenues coming in, and that means we can continue to meet the demands of the voters. And that's what, and really the important thing that I don't want to miss out on is the fact that this is going to add to the quality of life for all residents. I know I've heard some residents saying that this is only going to benefit your higher end folks that have more income coming in. And this is going to benefit our students. This is going to benefit working families. This is going to benefit all of Federal Way. And as I've talked to Teresa, and I'm very confident and excited about the program that's going to be in place. And just excited to see our community get out of the blight, get into the 21st century, create jobs, and move forward in our future. And because of that, I'm continue, just as I have in day one, when I was running for office, support this project. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, Councilmember Selski, Councilmember Burbidge, and please keep in mind we've got the yellow sheets from for the folks we want to hear from. So, and then we're going to hear. So, Councilmember Selski.
Thanks, Mayor Farrell. Thanks for the presentation. Well, nicely done, nicely presented, very short and concise. Just two questions. First of all, or two comments here. I like the contingency concept. The 7.4%. Councilmember Duclos already talked a little bit about that. And I like the fact that we're going to dedicate everything we save from that for furniture, fixtures, and equipment. I think that's a very creative idea, and congratulations for thinking through that. Secondly, on the alternative for shortened project duration, you know, we want to get this thing up as quickly as we can so we can derive the benefit of this, and of course without sacrificing any quality. Is there any incentive at all? It shows here 0, but let's say this gets completed 2 months, 3 months ahead of schedule so we can start putting it in action. There's no incentive for the contractor for that, right?
Well, originally what the contract had asked for or allowed for a 20-month period of time.
Okay.
And with this alternative, we were suggesting that, you know, what would it cost to knock that down to 18 months? And those are calendar days. And so what GARCO is really suggesting by putting a 0 next to that alternate is that they believe, accomplish this project within that 18-month period of time and at no extra cost to themselves. With projects such as this, it always is to the benefit of the contractor to be in and out as quick as possible. So, you know, you've got the idea that we want to do a quality job, have a quality product, but we also want to, you know, complete that as soon as we can. And so their incentive really for their own internal cost controls and profitability is to build this just as quickly as they can. And so I think we'll shoot for that 18-month time frame with this bid. But I think that the project team is also thinking to have the flexibility where if something comes up with respect to project schedule that may cause a change order to start to be discussed, that we have that extra 2 months in there to use that flexibly. So the idea here is really to maybe under-promise, over-deliver. The expectation would be all things go well, we could see this constructed in 18 months. If things go well but not quite as well, we may see it constructed somewhere more along the lines of 19 to 20 months.
Okay, very good, thank you. And I'm going to save my comments until after citizen comment.
All right, thank you very much. Deputy Mayor Burbidge.
Thank you. Thank you, Will, for your presentation. It was very clear and thorough, and thank you also for your hard work during this process in managing this. And I also want to add my appreciation for Aday's presentation, Aday Arwula, our finance director. You both provided us with a lot of clarity this evening. And I just want to add a statement following up a bit with Councilmember Duclos' remarks that related to the bidding process and the numbers that have come out in as far as the new markets tax credits availability as time goes on. And I believe that's also true with the potential for receiving naming grants. Once the project is becoming a reality, I believe we are more likely to have the good fortune of receiving that additional financial assistance. And additionally, I'll just comment that the coalition has had such a major role in providing the funds, the fundraising process that is working its way toward $1 million goal, and then I believe they will continue the process. And there are many represented here this evening who have already contributed toward this, and I want to say a sincere thank you to those who have already shared in their support, their direct support of this project.
All right. Council, any other questions of Will Appleton, our project manager? Councilmember Moore.
Thank you. It's a very big project, so hopefully I won't be doing too much talking, but I do have a question.
Sure.
I take it Garco has had a good history of delivering on time and not any later after deadlines. Is that right on their history of their projects?
Our reference checks have not produced any information that would suggest that they have failed on the project delivery side of the equation. Everything that we've heard about them has been positive, including the quality of their product. They say what they mean what they say. I really truly am excited to have them as part of the team. I look forward to working with them, frankly. So yeah, I believe that if they say they can do this within 18 months, they'll do that.
Okay, thank you. Council, any other questions? All right, thank you, Will. All right, now for the most important part of this, we're going to hear from you. If you have not already filled out a pink sheet, and a yellow sheet, and wish to comment, please do so. And if we get time crunched and you just need to get up there, we can always get one filled out later. All right, let's go ahead and start with Joanne Paquette. Joanne is speaking on behalf of 5 people who are present, so let's give 5 minutes. Joanne.
I'm still writing this after all this. Mayor, deputy mayor, and members of the council. It's been a long, long journey to get to this point, to award the bid for the construction of the Performing Arts and Event Center. We have been closely involved in the process all these years, 26 years at last count. We participated in the feasibility studies. Several of us read the Blue Ribbon Panel report and the pro forma and had input in creating the design. We also spent those years fundraising for the PAC in a variety of ways. We still are and plan to. We are excited about the many activities and events that will finally be able to be held in Federal Way, and the benefits to the development of our downtown this will stimulate. We've learned an awful lot of new information tonight, all of it positive. And regarding a pursuit of a public-private partnership, it can happen at any step during construction, as Deputy Mayor mentioned. In fact, that could help sell the idea, knowing the city has confidence in and has a commitment to the project. We know that's true in grant writing. Grantors want to know it's reality and not just an idea. We elect council members to make the major city decisions. We hope they are visionaries, and in this instance, recognize the incredible value of the PAC to the future of Federal Way. You voted unanimously to move forward last year. Do it for this final step. A bit of history about our neighbors to the north. Back in 1899, the city of Seattle purchased 200 acres known as Woodland Park for $100,000. Many citizens criticized the move. Among other things, they complained that it was too distant from the city center. Would anyone criticize that purchase now? The zoo and park is considered one of the top 10 in the nation. Some of you know that I've gone on theater tours all over the country and even Canada for the past 14 years and observed the many economic and cultural benefits these facilities bring to their cities and surrounding areas. So be visionaries, recognize what this will be, vote unanimously to accept the construction bid. Then let's celebrate. Thank you.
Gary Robertson.
Like the mayor, Jim Farrell, initially I opposed the PAC because I didn't think it was a very good idea. but I have to commend him for the Blue Ribbon panel and for explaining to us the thing that impressed me the most about it was the multi-different type of uses that this center can perform, in not just concerts. So that gives us more opportunity to raise revenue to make this sustaining. So I'm really impressed with that. And in 2 days, I go to a concert at the Pantages Theater in Tacoma. They also have the Emerald Queen Casino. Auburn has its performance center. Kent has Showwear Center, and Federal Way had nothing, to compete with these. So I'm really glad to see we're going to, step up to the plate and come up with something that we can have as well as all these other communities. And the thing that I'm really glad about is the Federal Way Symphony. They're right now, for years, they've been performing in a crammed church, and that's not really ideal for that type of concert. And so now they'll be able to use this as well, and so that's really a plus for them as well. But on the other side, I do have some concerns. I share the same concerns as Brian Hiller and Matthew Jarvis that they expressed in their initiative, which I was a little disappointed got shot down, but the concerns are valid. And also I share the concerns of council members Susan Honda and Kelly Maloney that motion they made at the last meeting that was defeated, but I think the concerns are valid. And the other issue that I have is the fact that it wasn't put up to a public vote, which I thought it would have been a positive thing if they could have got the community behind it with a vote to support it. And this was also addressed in or an article written by columnist Bob Rogner in the Mirror, which I hope all of you read because he did have some valid points. And I think he made some reference to the mayor's position, on this as the time went by. So anyway, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Sherry Song. And then Paul Levy.
Yep. Honorable Mayor and City Council members, I am here to thank you for having the vision and the foresight to support the Federal Way Performing Arts and Event Center. And I also really commend the staff for such an in-depth and thorough research and planning and all their hard work. I mean, it just really seems like they put more than 100% into it, and so I have full confidence in supporting this project. It will not only be a catalyst, as the mayor likes to say, for economic development, but a vehicle for cultural development and community building. Many groups from a business community, educational community, and various ethnic communities, will find it a place to meet, to grow as a community and to enjoy together. It will make us a stronger and better Federal Way. So I speak for myself and many of the thousands of others when I say I'm excited about the possibilities for this landmark state-of-the-art facility. And thank you, all of you, City Council staff, and the people here that are here to support it, for believing in the people of Federal Way and investing in the future of the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Paul Levy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I'd like to introduce myself to you in a different way. I'm representing the Washington District of the Metropolitan Opera National Council. And I'm very excited about this facility because I'm shopping for a venue. My wife and I, Maxine is the director, by the way. We're both longtime Federal Way residents. And we're looking at various facilities that would suit our needs. This kind of facility seems ideal. I wish it were open now because we're spending a lot of money right now in Seattle. So let me explain to you a little bit about how a project like this benefits the community. This year we will be auditioning 30 kids. They're singers between the ages of 20 and 30, and they come not only from all over the state. We've got a singer coming from Alaska, we've got Hawaii, Australia, Philadelphia. They come here, they need a place to stay. They just don't lie out in the street. We also bring judges in from throughout the country. This year we're bringing in 2 judges from New York, and they need a place to stay. So we book hotel rooms for them. They need a place to eat. Some of these young singers bring their own accompanists with them. So when you start to add these numbers up and begin to recognize the impact that our event, which is an all-day event, will have on the community as just a microcosm of what is possible, I think you begin to see just how what the economic impact of the community will be. For those of you that are interested, as just a small plug for what we're doing, on October 25th, we're holding our auditions in Benaroya Hall. It's an all-day affair, and for those of you that think that this kind of thing is for the elite, I point out that we charge $15 admission, $10 for seniors and students. And so we would love to be able to bring this kind of thing to communities like Federal Way and others. And so I am absolutely thrilled that this is going to be a reality. My only regret was that Joanne was not successful 26 years ago. Thank you.
Oh, by the way, this is my wife, Maxine. She was the director.
Twice introduced
All right, Phil Wamba, Mr. Wamba, and then Dana Turcotte.
Can't stop smiling. Good evening, Mayor Farrell, City Council. I'm Phil Wamba, and my family has resided in Federal Way for over 40 years. For some time, this city government has sought how to move forward upon a vision dating back to the city's beginning, and not only meet the city's everyday needs with available resources, but build for the future. I believe they've done so by diligent preparation, so that when the opportunity came, they have been ready to act. I am aware there's been increased pressure to delay the PAC until there is more clarity and certainty of the funding sources. Certainty is a great wish, but almost never a reality. What is certain is if the project were delayed, the construction costs will go up. I'm on the executive board of Fusion that provides homeless shelter in both King and Pierce counties. Recently, I oversaw a project to convert a home into a true duplex that involved establishing the project requirements, including a rezone of the property. The rezone process took the better part of a year. The total time from first quote to zoning approval and requote was 16 months. In that period, the price increased by 14%, due almost entirely to increase in the cost of the construction trades. Any delay in the PAC project can be expected to experience similar cost increases and make it that much more difficult to meet financial requirements and possibly have to return considerable government funding, including the interest. Good leadership requires the vision, knowledge of the facts, awareness of the controlling factors, and best judgment available on risks to overcome misinformation and act in the citizenry's best interests. I personally and firmly believe the action taken here today for the Performing Arts and Events Center will be an historic step towards the city we should all want for ourselves, our children, and future generations.
Dana Turcotte, and then Matthew Jarvis.
My husband and I have been living in Federal Way since 1962, so we've seen it change a lot. My point is not that you did something without asking us, but my point is thank you for taking care of us. When I drive along Dash Point Road, I'm very grateful for those new line markings. The way Federal Way takes care of our roads not only keeps me safer, but it makes me a better driver with less stress. All I have to do is drive in another city with its potholes and its poorly marked streets to be aware and grateful for what we in Federal Way are provided. The entertainment world bombards us with hate and anger and fear and meanness, and this is entertainment. It defines us and it feeds our minds. In Federal Way, we need a place to go for balance, for creativity, for inspiration, for information, for art and music and dance and lectures and recitals. The Performing Arts Building can provide these. Can we afford it? That's up to our leaders. That's why we elected them. They have the responsibility, the connections, and the experience to make these decisions. Living in Federal Way is more than having good, safe roads. It's being given opportunities for us to become the best people that we can be. Parks, libraries, a community center, schools, performing arts building, we need all of these. City Council, we are in good hands, and I thank you.
Mr. Matthew Jarvis will be followed by Suzanne Pisek.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council members, tonight you're being asked to approve construction of the Performing Arts Center. However, if you approve construction tonight or approve construction to start immediately, it will be done on a foundation of broken promises, $16 million of broken promises to be exact. We were promised, and at numbers that Dave shared as well, $7 million of new market tax credits. Today we have zero. We were promised $1 million, $1.5 million from the sale of the hotel pad. Not only has it not been sold, but at a cost of $2 million, it's been moved on to the Target site. We were promised $5 million in money in the state. We've come close to that with $4 million. And we were promised as much as $5 million of naming rights and donations. And through the diligent work of our Coalition for the Performing Arts, they've raised about $1 million. Altogether, that puts us short roughly $15 million. Now, these numbers are confirmed by Aday's presentation earlier, though his presentation differs from mine in that Aday and the council likes to count their chickens before they hatch, as my dad would always say. It is perhaps possible that this other $15 million will come through, though it's also possible that it will not. Should it not come through, the mortgage payment on that will be approximately $1 million a year for the next 20 years, or roughly the same as taking 10 police officers off of the streets where I live, where we all live. Now, again, I'm not asking you to kill the PAC project because of these broken promises. I get that we're all optimistic. I certainly would not want the efforts of this support group to go to waste. What I am asking is that you go ahead and approve the bid, but you approve not starting construction until you actually have the money in hand. No bank, no investor would approve a project unless you actually had the money in hand. Now, there's many that would like to say that my numbers are wrong or that I'm somehow anti-Federal Way. Though these people have not yet offered to back the financial losses themselves or personally guarantee the project, nor has anyone offered to take my bet of $10,000 that the numbers are dreadfully wrong, a bet which I would renew today, seeing as you're $15 billion off the mark. Now, those that would like to say that I'm somehow anti-Federal Way, I would certainly love for anyone to compare their track record against my track record being only age 34. If you can find anyone in town under the age of 40 who comes close to what I've done, I would love to meet them and learn from them. My family donates a lot of time and resources to making Federal Way a better place, a lot of time and resources. I worry that this project, if it's approved right now, will threaten those. Just wait until you have the money. Give it 6 months, give it 12 months, wait until you have the money, and then by all means start construction. Just don't put my family's public safety, don't put my business at risk, my investments at risk because you're counting chickens before they hatch. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. Susan Pisek. Susan? Oh, there you are. Not to shout. And then Donna Berger. and then Pam Smith.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, and citizens. My name is Susan Pisek, but don't worry about it. It happens a lot. I'm here as a longtime resident of Federal Way. I've been in this area for more than 26 years. But I'm also here as a representative of one of the performing arts groups. I'm a singer. I've been with Jet City's chorus for 16 or 17 years now. Our chorus is a chapter of Sweet Adelines. We have more than 50 members, and we have been based in Federal Way for the majority of those 50 years. We have watched with great hope and anticipation as the City of Federal Way has examined and tested the need for and economic feasibility of creating a performing arts center. To focus only on the performing arts aspect of this project is, in my opinion, very short-sighted. This project will be an anchor for downtown development in Federal Way and will attract greater corporate interest in the further growth of the Federal Way core. The facility is planned with full kitchen facilities. Will be able to support large meetings, weddings, receptions, symphony galas, you name it, trade and craft shows, cultural events, and educational opportunities with association with local community colleges and technical schools. With the facilities, they could possibly offer certificate and diplomas in things such as restaurant management, hotel management, those sort of things. Selfishly, as members of a performing group here, my chorus, Jet Cities, sees this as an opportunity to expand our performing opportunities, as well as to be able to offer Federal Way as a possible site for larger Sweet Adelines regional workshops, performances, and competitions. This city has worked very hard to develop a funding package for this project, which does not increase any of the taxes or impact normal city functions. The expanded job opportunities and economic expansion, which will follow as a result of the city's well-coordinated development plan, which includes performing arts and event center, will be an advantage for all of us. We applaud the city for the excellent and at times totally frustrating attention to detail, economics, and when considering and planning this project. It's time to go for it. Thank you.
Donna Berger. Ms. Berger.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. I'm currently the Vice President of the Federal Way Symphony Board of Directors. And many of my fellow board members are here tonight. We've watched this process with great anticipation and enthusiasm. We are strong supporters of this project, and we urge you to not only approve the construction bid, but do so tonight. Please don't delay any longer. Thank you very much.
All right, Pam Smith.
Mayor and City Council of Federal Way, I am excited to be back here tonight. I have a long history with Federal Way. I live in Auburn and lived there for 36 years, but my passion for the arts was born from the Federal Way groups that I've worked with here and sung with and acted with and played with for many, many years. And I come here as basically as the managing director of the Auburn Performing Arts Center for the last 18 years. And don't feel, you will probably wonder why I'm here to promote the Federal Way Performing Arts and Event Center. I see it more of a collaboration than I do as a competition. And I can speak to the fact that on a daily basis, weekly at least, I turn away clients that we cannot accommodate at our center. We don't have the dates. The Auburn Performing Arts Center, a lot of people don't realize, is owned and subsidized by the Auburn School District. So we have to accommodate every every school performing arts group, whatever they want in the school district first in our centers, and then we work with the community at large and regional. So our center has become a regional facility over 35 years. And we've done a fine job of that and managing it. And we have a vibrant school board, just as I believe that the Federal Way City Council is vibrant and a vital city council that can support an effort in this behalf. I just want to say that sometimes the events that and the clients that I have to turn away are those because I don't have the dates or because they're looking for a daytime event that there's no parking at the Auburn Performing Arts Center during the school days because it's student parking lot. So we turn away groups that want to have banquet facilities, and because we don't have banquet facilities, especially now. And then we turn away groups that perhaps booked another school theater, and they all of a sudden forgot that they had homecoming that night, which just happened with the Maple Valley Youth Symphony. And so they came to us desperately looking for another date, and the date that they needed we weren't available for. So I look at this as a true collaboration. I know, having been on the Blue Ribbon panel, that sitting on the interview committee, that you've hired a rock star executive director for the new facility, and I look forward to collaborating with her and working with her. And I just want to congratulate you and this city for what they have done, and you're an example to all of us, and for the performing arts groups in this city, unparalleled. And my hat's off to you, and I'll come back. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam, and thank you for your service on the Blue Ribbon panel. Torgel Helgeland.
Hi, my name is Torgel Helgeland. I live just outside of Federal Way city limits, but I'm unincorporated South King County. But I had a question on the project management presentation. Yeah, that you had the building layout and you had the additional features, I believe, all listed up there. One of which was 2% for the performing arts. I didn't know what that is and where the money's coming from and why it was up on that particular presentation slide. So who can tell me what that is?
It's going to be Will Appleton. Will, can you come back up, if you could, just real quickly to answer Mr. Helgeland's question? Can you pull up the slide for his benefit and for those watching? Mr. Helgeland, stay close in case you've got another question. Let's get there real quick while you're thinking of it.
So the 2% for the arts is actually codified. That's written into the city's code, and it's required for any facility, capital facility that the city builds. So a good example of that would be the community center, which was constructed in approximately 2007. 2% for the arts was included in that. The purpose of that funding is to effectively put out public art on display as part of the project. And the idea behind it is to hire local artists or artists to create and build and construct and place that artwork. And so that is something that the council has elected to do, and that is something that we are required by code to
Can you show us the diagram that Torger was just referring to?
So one of and the reason this is pointing towards this, what's really shown here as a reflecting pool is that's one of the items that we were thinking about integrating into this facility, and the concept potentially with the approval of the Art Commission would be to have an artist design that reflecting pool type facility, and then to have that artist build it and incorporate that into the project as part of the 2% for the arts. That's why it's shown as this. If the Art Commission elects not to go down that course, then it would be something else. But it is something that's required by code within the city of Federal Way.
And Torger, Councilmember Honda has a quick comment.
2% for the public arts doesn't necessarily mean that it's paintings or sculptures. It could be functional public art, like a bench or a chair or the pond. If you go to the library on First Avenue, they have quite a bit of money that they spend on public art there. I don't know what percent it was. I think it was 1%. But it's in the walls. part of it is a countertop in the teen section, so it can be things that are useful, not just a painting on the wall.
Well, yeah, I mean, that actually wasn't my question. It was, you know, I may be dumb, but I was wondering, where did the money come from? It's like, so Federal Way says, whenever we build something, we want to have 2% of the money go to the arts just to enhance Federal Way. I was just confused with what it had to do with the contractor and stuff, so.
Right. Anything to add, Will? Thank you, Torger. Anything to add on that comment?
That's a good point. The 2% for the arts that's shown here, I guess the point of that is to state that the money is available within the budget. It is not money that's being awarded to the contractor. It's simply shown that we're able to incorporate that within the allotted budget that we've been given. So you're correct. It's not actually part of the construction contract.
Great question. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, we normally appreciate that. That's what's nice about having all the PowerPoints where we can just refer to it. Keith Livingston, sir. Mr. Livingston, I presume. Been waiting all night to say that.
I've heard it before. Well, Mayor and members of council, I congratulate you on a wonderful evening tonight. If you do eventually pass this. But my name is Keith Livingston. I'm here to speak in favor of awarding a contract for building the PAC and building the PAC, the Performing Arts and Events Center. The decision you need to make is really about opportunity. Some of us recognize that Federal Way has been in a slow economic decline for many years. Building the PAC is an opportunity to begin reversing that trend. As elected officials, you get to choose if this city remains in economic doldrums or moves forward. The PAC is a down payment on securing a better future for all of Federal Way's residents and businesses. The naysayers for this project are telling you their concerns are about money and that Federal Way's taxpayers cannot afford this investment or sustain its operation. That is a distraction and blatantly false. The city has a AA3 bond rating as assigned by Moody's Investors Service. This rating is near the top. The city is also capable of managing construction financing within current revenues. So money is not the naysayers' real issue, but the naysayers use it as a tool to create fear. Technically, their real issue is not even about the PAC. Their real issue is about imposing a personal ideology of limiting the purpose and capability of government to serve the community. If the PAC is not built, the unspoken result of their personal quest to restrict Federal Way's investment capability is many core properties within Federal Way will remain blighted, empty, and become available at reduced cost for those desiring to profit from economic decline. So think of this vote as being your one-yard call in Federal Way's Super Bowl. Build the PAC or audible for no growth. As our elected quarterbacks, you get to make this call. A no vote rewards a negative local media as well as a group of residents and businesses with an anti-government and no public investment ideology. Please realize the naysayers offer no vision, no viable alternatives, no opportunities, and no real future for Federal Way. Building the PAC starts the city on a path toward becoming more attractive and economically viable. It gives Federal Way the opportunity to begin evolving into a premier city in the South Puget Sound. The artist Henry Matisse said, "It takes courage to create. It also takes courage to change." My request of you is to be courageous, change Federal Way's future for the better, vote to build the PAC. Thank you.
We have a letter from Michelle Mayberry. Stephanie, would you please read it? Oh, okay. You can't read it from there.
Mayor Farrelling, City Council members, I am the promoter of a Northern Classic Bodybuilding show, and we currently are using the Pantages Theater in Tacoma for our show. We have such a hard time finding a venue of around 700 to 900 seats in the Puget Sound area that has an opening for us. Everything is booked for years in advance. We would love to be able to use the PAC as it is the perfect location and size as well as having the hotels nearby. We typically generate about 20 to 25 hotel nights on Friday and Saturday of our show. Our show brings in around 700 supporters in the audience as well as 200 competitors. They all go to lunch and shopping as well during the day, and there is a morning show, then the finals later that night. After the show, everyone goes to dinner, so we support surrounding restaurants as well. There are 10 shows in the Puget Sound area just in the bodybuilding world that need venues. Your planned facility would be perfect, and we would need additional space besides the auditorium for vendors. We would be interested in discussing a 5-year contract if we could reserve the dates we will need. I'm a longtime resident of Federal Way, and I'm encouraged that some positive steps are finally being taken to improve the downtown area. Too long, Federal Way has seemed to not have a real direction or identity, and I'm excited to see that we will be heavily utilized like the Performing Arts and Events Center happening. It will bring culture and class to a city that really needs it. Michelle Mayberry.
Okay. We've received another yellow sheet. H. David Kaplan.
In 1990, I was on the task force that created the first Parks and Recreation Comprehensive Plan. It was unanimously approved by City Council. That plan included an element called a Performing Arts Center. So we've been waiting 25 years for that. Tonight, we have the opportunity to move forward on the Performing Arts and Events Center. It is a project that will enhance our city, create jobs, and increase the livability of our community. A city's parks and recreation services are an obligation a city has to its residents. They are paid for out of the city's general fund and by fees paid by users. The Performing Arts and Events Center follows the path of Celebration Park, Dumas Space Center, and the Community Center. All of these earlier projects were complicated, expensive, and necessary, just like the Performing Arts and Events Center. All of them had their supporters and the usual plague of nitpickers and naysayers who didn't have the vision to see the benefits these projects brought to the city. But we forged ahead, made the projects happen, got them stabilized financially, and are reaping the benefits now and for the foreseeable future. So let's do it again. Let's accept a bid for the PAC and get it built. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Anyone else? All right. If during the course of, we're going to have some council discussion now. If you change your mind, just raise your hand and we'll get a yellow sheet filled out. All right. Now, before we start with council discussion and comment, Councilmember Maloney, again, who could not be here tonight, has submitted a letter, and I think it'd be a good way to get that conversation started to hear from Councilmember Maloney. Do you have your own copy? All right, please proceed.
To my fellow council members, Mayor Jim Farrell, and to the public, tonight is an important night for the City of Federal Way. City Council will be voting on whether to award the most responsible construction bid for the PAC and therefore move forward on construction. Regrettably, I'm out of town on business, so I am not able to join you for this historic vote. The idea of having a performing arts and convention center in the heart of Federal Way is an exciting prospect. Yet, because it is the single most expensive project the city has undertaken in its 25 years, it generates many questions, opposition, and call for a public vote. Questions about financing for construction and ongoing operation costs, challenges to the reported economic impact and the multiplier effect, and requests for a public vote have been valid inquiries and points for further examination. Should a majority vote by the council be tonight's results, I believe it will be in the city's best interest to explore making the PAC a public-private development project. This concept is pretty common and involves working with private industry to accomplish mutual goals that can have a substantial financial impact, in this case a potential significant cost avoidance for the city, while accomplishing the goals set forth for the project. At this point, without new markets tax credits, the city is now reliant on a 3-year interfund loan for the projected unfunded balance that will potentially be followed by councilmanic bonds. These financing methods result in interest payments that can be consequential. However, working with private industry could allow the city to build the PAC, retaining ownership and appropriate oversight through the required nonprofit, while offsetting its financial obligations through a meaningful, vetted, relevant partnership. If the majority of council votes to move forward with construction at tonight's vote, I respectfully request it be done with the caveat that the mayor endeavor to establish a public-private partnership to cover the projected balance. The outcome of the public-private development could be a very exciting partnership for the city and could potentially allow the city to build the PAC without having to go into debt for it. I believe to accomplish this, the motion to accept the bid award could be amended to include the council's desire for the mayor to move forward with exploring public-private partnerships with entities that make sense for the PAC, the construction timeframe, and without a lot of alteration to the schematic design so as not to delay or increase costs. It's my request that one or more of you make this amendment and move to accept it as part of the motion to accept the bid award. Thank you for your consideration. Sincerely, Kelly Maloney, City Council Member, Position 2.
All right. Councilmember Selski.
Thanks, Mayor Farrell. And I'd like to thank everybody who came up to the podium to make public comment on this tonight on both sides of the issue. And this has been one of those issues that has been ongoing for many, many years, as Nancy Paquette has said. Or Joanne Paquette. I'm sorry, Joanne. Anyway, I've been very consistent with where I've stood on this issue since the beginning. I really believe that this is going to be another highly used and critical asset for our city. And Mr. Kaplan actually stole some of my thunder, but I'll say it anyway, and thank you for your comment. I really couldn't imagine our city without some of the critical and essential city services that we provide via the community center and also Celebration Park. These are two highly beloved assets of our city that are used by many, many of our citizens. This, I believe this facility will prove its worth several-fold over the coming years and decades, and I really have complete confidence in it. So I'm definitely going to vote in favor of it. Thank you.
Councilmember Seffa Dawson.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you so much for the passion that I heard tonight, to have everybody here. I've been on the council for less than 2 years, but this conversation has been ongoing even, during my tenure. So it's great to have, to hear what you have to say and for it to come from, to all of you for being so passionate. I've talked to people who would approach me and say, we have South Center, Tukwila has the South Center Mall, and, naming all the cities, and it's like, and then you come to Tacoma, to Federal Way, and all you see is nothing. And so I think this would actually change the conversation. It will change the dialogue. I was at that site on Sunday, and I was visualizing and envisioning what it was going to look like when when the PAC is built. And it's going to be beautiful. It's just going to bring our city to a level that we have not seen it, and just be the catalyst, and it'll be the beginning of a great Federal Way. And I'm so thankful that you're here, and I'm thankful that I'm a part of this process. So thank you.
Councilmember Duclos.
When we first started talking about this project, it seems like eons ago. As an individual running the multi-service center, and I had an opportunity to travel around the country going to various meetings that would impact our agency and the services we provided. And you always stay in a hotel. You sat all day in a conference center having meetings and listening to people, and then you get up and you went out to eat, and after that, what did you do? You didn't want to go back to your hotel room and just sit there, so you wandered around the city, or you found the shopping areas. So when we first started talking about this, after we went up to McIntyre Hall and visited, I went over to the mall, and I talked to the mall management about what this project and would they like it. They definitely wanted it. They wanted what was then called the conference center, we're now calling event center, because that would bring people into town. And what do? When you're finished, and you finished eating, you go shop. I then talked to the individual store owners, and they also felt the same way. And then I went down to the hotels, and of course they said, of course the event center, because people will come and they are heads in beds. That means money for them and taxes for us. So the overwhelming feeling from the people down in the business community downtown, where this is going to be located, was yes, this is a project that we needed. And as I said, that was eons ago. We've had many things changed. We had a change in the form of government. We had a major recession. If we could have built this during my second term, which it would have been, it'd be up and done now, like the community center. People would be going to it, and people would be very, very happy with what they saw. And I think we always have people that are going to question, and that's your right, and it's good for you to question, because during this process, we've made changes. But now it's time to start. And I'm ready to vote for this and to vote for the contractor to start breaking ground, because the longer we wait, the more the costs go up. So, thank you.
Thank you, Dini. Councilmember Honda.
Thank you very much. So tonight's a really important night in the future of our city, and I want to explain my thoughts. I served on our art commission for 6 years. The last 3 years I was the chair of the arts commission. And I remember going to quite a few meetings about building the Performing Arts Center. And I went up to McIntyre Hall too. I couldn't understand why not all of our council members supported this great idea, because it really is a great idea. A Performing Arts Center will be wonderful in Federal Way. And then I was elected to city council, and I realized how complicated it is to run a city. Running a city is similar to running a business, and every decision that's made needs to fit into this business. Building a PAC is not simply constructing a building, and I know many of you, including myself, have had dreams of this for years. I went all over South King County and Seattle and north of Seattle with my daughter when she was a ballerina, and it would have been nice to have been able to perform here in Federal Way. So I know that there's a need for this. Building a PAC requires that it fits into a much larger picture in our city. Considerations need to be made about how to finance not just the construction, but also how to operate and maintain it. And we haven't talked about that at all tonight. And we need to know how the operation and maintenance of this building is going to fit into the rest of our city. I have many concerns about where we are headed tonight. I thought that finding the money to construct the Performing Arts Center would be the easy part of this, and it hasn't been. Staff and citizens have been working very, very hard over the last several years to gather the funding needed for construction. But tonight, as we vote to select the bid or not, we are still millions of dollars short, and that's a concern. The mayor has put together a package of where the funding will come from. Some of it we have, and some of it we hope to have. I don't think it's a wise decision to start construction without the total amount needed. I don't think that bonding this out is the answer, and I don't like the fact that we are borrowing $3 million from our CDBG program. We will take 20 years to pay that back. And yes, I understand it doesn't come from our general fund, but it's still about $200,000 that we will be paying every year for 20 years. And we probably will need to make up those dollars somewhere along the line. Once built, we will need to find funding to operate and maintain the Performing Arts and Events Center. We have a pro forma. I've looked at it. I've talked to people who have studied it, and I don't know how realistic it is. I have concerns about it. We have put many expectations into this building. It's 41,000 square feet. It's beautiful, there's no doubt about it. We plan on teaching cooking with a culinary school. We talk about feeding our low-income students there during the summer. We talk about running many different educational programs and providing jobs. By borrowing the money from the CDBG program, we are required to provide a certain amount of jobs. We expect it to be a gathering place for our citizens and hold special events, and much, much more. We expect that this building will transform our town. I think we're expecting a little too much from this building because it's a building. Our city, our beautiful city of Federal Way, isn't defined by a building. We have placed our hopes and dreams on the Performing Arts and Events Center. But Federal Way should not be defined by a single building. It's defined by the people who live and work here, the people who call Federal Way home. I have my continued concerns about this. I think that we should wait to construct this until we know where all the money is coming from, until we have it. It's how I would manage if I were building something for my family, and I believe that's how we should manage this for the city. Not all Federal Way residents have supported this, and this has caused some division among our community. But after tonight, I'd like to see the community come together as a city. I don't want to see this issue divide the city anymore. I want to see the Performing Arts and Events Center the most successful theater and events center in the state. It will take our entire community to make that happen. It takes courage to stand up for what you believe in. I don't hear anyone in the community saying not to build this building, but to wait until the funding is completely secured. I would like to thank those who have supported this and those who have voiced their concerns about this. We are blessed with a community that works hard, that cares very deeply for Federal Way. And I'd like to thank you, the citizens, those who are here tonight and those that are at home watching, for all that you do to make Federal Way an amazing place. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, Council, any other, Deputy Mayor Burbidge, do you have anything?
Actually, I have a motion, and then I would like to speak to the motion.
All right, please.
Okay. At this time, with great pleasure, I move to award the Performing Arts and Event Center construction project to Garco Construction Incorporated, the lowest responsible bidder, in the amount of $24,158,160, including state sales tax, and to approve a 7.4% contingency of $1,780,370, and authorize the mayor to execute all necessary documents.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Deputy Mayor Burbidge.
Again, I thank all of those who have spoken this evening with your passion from your hearts and from your very careful consideration and experience. I also appreciate hearing from my colleagues on the council, those who very much are in support of this and those who are in support but who want us to delay. I think we've heard a great deal this evening about the importance of proceeding with all due, I don't want to use the word haste, but with all due care and timeliness. I see this facility, this Performing Arts and Event Center, as providing a building, yes, but a place for the people. A place for the people who use it to participate in the arts, to put on events, to sponsor conferences, competitions, to have the joy that comes from sponsoring a festival for the community or for the region at large. It won't be just a building. It can be the heart of the community and certainly the catalyst for our downtown development. The cities that have invested in this kind of facility have tended to see enhanced property values, increased employment and jobs, improved profitability of the surrounding businesses, attracting visitors as well as the local residents. And coupled with the other redevelopment plans in the town center, including the park and the Target site, it will animate the environment during the day and the evening, greatly improving the quality of life in our community. It will increase local pride, contributing to an improved brand image. It will create a more vibrant community. And as the City of Federal Way's brand is polished, the addition of the multi-use Performing Arts and Events Center will become a treasured and valued community venue. So, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Moore and then Councilmember Selsky.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. What powerful words, Deputy Mayor, that you shared. You took some of my talking points out of the list. And maybe just to reiterate the importance, I mean, we are talking about the branding image. And if we're a community that's going to do nothing, then how can we brand a positive future for our community is the question that kind of pops up in my mind as we start the process again to look over this. Furthermore, I just want to recognize the history as my colleague Deanie Duclos has stated. I want to share that I recognize the amount of effort that's been put behind this project. And it all started just like Joan Piquette said. It all started with a small little vision. And look where we are today. And that tells, and I know that Keith Livingston said, be visionary leaders. And that's what I'm reminded of each and every single day. That's the question I challenge myself. How can I be a visionary leader and move our community forward so we can have a strong economy that provides for jobs, that provides for opportunities in terms of quality of life? And so I look forward to, again, as I stated earlier, to casting my vote for this because of that. And last but not least, actually two items, transparency, Mr. Mayor. I think that's going to be very important, and I know that you've done a great job in this, but I urge and encourage your staff to continue looking at mechanisms of how can we be more transparent with the public and utilizing tools so that people can monitor how their dollars are being spent. And that's one ask that I would ask. And last but not least, I saw our very own jewels. We have many of them in our community, but former Mayor Mary Gates in the back. I know she's in the last row, sitting right in front of the windows. I just want to say thanks to her for being here, because I know that she's been the former executive director of the Federal Way Symphony, and I know that she's worked very close with the coalition in building this vision and putting that foundation together to make today a reality. And that being said, I look forward in voting yes.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Burbidge?
Aye.
Councilmember Asafa Dawson?
Aye.
Councilmember Honda?
Nay.
Councilmember Selsky?
Aye.
Councilmember Moore?
Oh, yes.
Councilmember Duclos?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-1.
Thank you all for being here and engaging in a very thoughtful and productive discussion. Thank you. All right.
Y'all don't have to leave.
Take a brief recess. We're going to take a brief recess. Let's say 5 minutes. Exactly. Exactly. We're not done yet. Council? Exactly. 1, 2, 3. Exactly. I need. Thank you very much. Good job. Martin? Gene? Where's Deanie? Let's get moving.
Yeah, well, as long as they're making their way up here,
Yes.
you really, based on what she said.
Oh, sure. That's fine. Okay, we just need Deanie. And Martin. Martin's right there. Martin, do you know where Deanie is? Exactly. Okay. Gene, will you please make...
No. But,
Okay, I'll call the meeting back to order. We have a couple of items of business, but first thing we need to do is have a motion. Deputy Mayor Burbridge.
Yes, I would move to extend the meeting time beyond the 10 o'clock deadline.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to extend the meeting time beyond 10 p.m. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, it is so done. So ordinances, first reading, Council Bill 690, ordinance T-Mobile franchise agreement. Staff presentation by John Mulkey, Street Systems Manager. John.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Deputy Mayor, council members. My name is John Mulkey. I'm the Street Systems Manager for the City of Federal Way, and I'm presenting the T-Mobile West LLC franchise ordinance for first reading. The policy question is, should the city grant T-Mobile West LLC a franchise ordinance to place wireless transmitting facilities and related appurtenances within and through the City of Federal Way? The background, T-Mobile West has requested a franchise from the city in order to place the wireless transmitting facilities in city-owned or controlled rights-of-way, and the ordinance is to replace a previous ordinance which expired in August of 2013. The term of the franchise is for a period of 10 years, commencing on the effective date of this franchise, consistent with franchises the city has granted to other utility providers. The franchise ordinance bypassed FEDRAC review through approval by Chair Duclos in order to speed up time for implementation of the ordinance, and this will allow T-Mobile West LLC to move forward with work within the city as quickly as possible upon approval of the franchise ordinance. The options before council are to 1, approve to send the T-Mobile West LLC franchise ordinance to the City Council meeting on October 20th, 2015 for second reading, or 2, do not approve to send the T-Mobile West LLC franchise ordinance to the City Council meeting on October 20, 2015 for the second reading and provide direction to staff. The mayor's recommendation is to approve to send the ordinance for the T-Mobile West franchise ordinance to the City Council meeting on October 20, 2015 for the second reading.
All right.
And I'm
Council,
available
any
for
questions?
any questions.
All right. Would the city clerk please read the ordinance title?
Council Bill 690, Ordinance T-Mobile Franchise Agreement, an ordinance of the City of Federal Way, Washington, granting T-Mobile West Corporation a non-exclusive franchise to occupy rights-of-way in the City of Federal Way, Washington, within the specified franchise area for the purposes of installation, operation, maintenance, and repair of its wireless communication fixtures and related equipment, cables, accessories, and improvement in a portion of the right-of-way within and through the City of Federal Way.
All right. And Councilmember Duclos.
I move to forward the proposed ordinance to the October 20th council meeting for an enactment.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, matter passes. All right, now, for second reading and enactment, Council Bill 689, Amendment to Federal Way Revised Code 6.35.030 relating to pedestrian interference. Would the city clerk please read the ordinance title?
Council Bill 689, Amendment to Federal Way Revised Code 6.35.030 relating to pedestrian interference. An ordinance of the City of Federal Way, Washington relating to interference with pedestrian and vehicular traffic, amending Federal Way Revised Code 6.35.030.
All right, Councilmember Honda.
Thank you. I move approval of the proposed ordinance.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Matter passes unanimously. Council reports. Councilmember Duclos.
Oh, thank you. Just real quickly, given the lateness of the hour, I attended the Advancing Leadership Evening with the Stars along with many of my fellow council members and other elected officials there. I haven't waited tables since college, so I really lucked out and I didn't spill any spaghetti sauce on anybody. It seemed like it was a wonderful night, and I hope they raised a lot of money. I also will be attending MSC's Help Luncheon on October 22nd at Emerald Downs, and I believe the CIS is also, Communities in Schools, is having a dinner on the 23rd. I might not be right on that date, but it seems like October is a fundraising month, so anyway. And I will also be at the first Neighborhood Connections meeting at Sahali School, which is my neighborhood, so I look forward to joining everybody there. Thank you.
Oh, great, thank you. Oh, it's at Sacajawea.
Oh, Sacajawea.
Great. All right, Councilmember Moore.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. A lot to report. All I can just say is what a great night it is. One of the things I didn't really get to mention, and I promise this will be very short, is just wanted to pass on my thanks to Matthew Jarvis and others. I know that it's not easy to stand up against the sea, and the fact that he had the courage to do that and felt comfortable in his own community to stand up and speak his mind. I think it's really important. And people that might have disagreed with this project, the fact that they were given an avenue to express that. And, the only thing I say is how great is it that we live in a country where it's okay to disagree on budgetary items or policy matters or your government. And so I'm thankful and just wanted to recognize that. There's just a lot to say, but I'm not going to say it right now. Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Selsky.
Thanks, Mayor Farrell. I'm really proud of how our city joins together and comes to support those in need in our community. And we've had a couple of events in the past couple of weeks, one of which was already talked about today, was the Mayor's Day of Concern and collecting all that food for the multi-service center. And I had the distinct honor of being able to collect with our chief of police, Andy Wang, and his wife, and my wife, who actually works at the store that we collected at, and Mark Kopang, and the five of us were on one side of the Safeway at 320th, collected a lot of food, and I'm glad to say that the chief didn't have to use his badge or his influence to accelerate donations into our basket. People gave willingly, and it was just a neat event for people to come together. And of course, the Reach Out breakfast happened a week ago Tuesday, or I believe it was last Tuesday, and a great event. We had a lot of people there, a lot of donations and funds were raised for that worthy cause, the Reach Out homeless shelter. So just a great, we live in such a great community for people to come together and support those in need. Last thing, I spent the weekend in Indianapolis and noticed the roads. And I actually drove down a road yesterday. I wouldn't even have driven my SUV on. It was so bad. In a residential community. I was just really glad I was in a rental car, put it that way. And it just brings to mind how well we take care of our roads here with our overlay program. Just, you know, if you drive anywhere outside of Federal Way, in any state, any city, you see the state of disrepair of the roads. And so I'm so proud we do spend that money and we take care of our roads. And I'm happy that I can drive my vehicle on our roads and not have it come to disrepair. So that's all I have to say tonight. And I'm happy of the outcome of the vote we took tonight as well on the PAC.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Honda.
Thank you very much. I'd like to start off by thanking the Federal Way Domestic Task Force. This is a group of people that we meet the last Friday of every month here at City Hall from 12 to 1:30. And there is just a portion of the people here tonight that are a part of that group. And these people are my heroes because they work with really horrible situations day in and day out, and they try to make those victims of domestic violence, try to give them a voice and try to help their lives get back on track. And so my hat's off to them. I couldn't do that kind of work, and I appreciate those who do that work. The City of Auburn has a domestic task force also, and they come up and work with us, and we do some work with them. They are having on October 16th from 1 to 3 a program called It Only Takes One. It's at Grace Community Church in Auburn. The guest speaker is Denise Brown, and she is speaking in memory of Nicole Brown. This is sponsored by the City of Auburn and the Muckleshoot Indian Tribe and the Auburn Domestic Violence Task Force. There's not a fee for it, but they would like to know if you're coming. It's from 1 to 3 October 16th at Grace Community Church. If you'd like more information, please contact me. It should be very interesting. Denise goes around the country speaking about what happened to her sister and that it truly only takes one person, one voice to stop a horrible incident. On this Friday, October 9th, from 6 to 9 at our community center, the Oktoberfest, the second annual Oktoberfest is being held. This is a fundraising dinner for our inclusion program. It's sponsored by the Federal Way Noon Kiwanis, of which our mayor is a member, as well as I am, and our police chief. And if I forget anyone, I'm sorry. Anyway, tickets are $20, and last year we raised over $7,000. It was our first event last year, and we did really, really well. This year we expect to do better. We have a great program, a great dinner, and it's only $20, so please come. I have tickets to sell if you're interested, and I hope that's okay to say that. So it's Friday, October 9th. And the last thing I'd like to say is last Thursday there was a house fire in Federal Way, and a woman was in the home and she passed away. I realize that she hasn't been positively identified, but this week, Saturday, from 3:30 to 5:30 at our community center, there will be a celebration of life for Marie Adair. Her daughter is coming. Marie loved bright colors, and it's been asked to please wear bright colors and to let anyone you know in the community know of this celebration of her life. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Sefadasa.
Thank you. I don't have a lot to report on, but last week I went to a training called Public Innovators Lab, and it was such a great training, and there are some things I think we can actually take advantage of and use in Federal Way, so I'm really excited to share that with other council members and the mayor to see how we can take advantage of this workshop. And the only other thing I want to add is to piggyback on the Mayor's Day of concern, is it? Let's keep in mind that the students are doing We Scare Hunger on October 31st, and I just want to put it out so people would welcome them and also help them support on this with this food drive because it also benefits Multi-Service Center and other food banks in the area. So just keep that in mind that they'll be knocking on your doors on the 31st of October. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Burbidge.
Thank you. I appreciate your mentioning that, Councilmember Cephadawson, the We Scare Hunger program. And not everyone in the community, I think, is aware of the students planning and carrying that out, where they knock on the doors and ask for food donations for the hungry. That's a terrific program. Appreciate your support of it, too. And as I was listening to the council reports tonight, I couldn't help but realize and reflect on the fact that we have a very active council who not only fulfill their council duties, but are very involved in the community and in the region. And they serve on regional and local committees. They participate in all kinds of events, and it's pretty impressive. I want to mention that the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee has its meeting on Wednesday, the 14th of October, coming up at 8 o'clock in the morning. And also a word of thanks for all those who participated in the Reach Out Breakfast and the Advancing Leadership Dinner and all of the other fundraisers that have occurred and are coming up. It does seem as though October is a major fundraising month. But we have a very generous community, very active community in helping those who need that assistance. And again, thank you all who now have left, who came to this evening. Most of you have left to participate in the decision in one way or another for this outstanding facility that we will embark upon very soon, with the groundbreaking on the 21st. It's very exciting. We have a lot of work ahead of us, but it will be very joyful work. So thank you, and have a great evening.
All right. Oh, Councilmember Cephadawson.
I'm so sorry. I wanted to add one more thing. On Sunday, Councilmember Martin Moore and I participated in the We Love Our City event, which was put on all the churches in the area. There was over 700 or so volunteers, and you were there too. Yes, and it was really, really amazing. The work that was done was incredible. I want to give a huge shout out to Shelley Pauls, who just pulled this together. She was a powerhouse. She was just amazing. And just the camaraderie, and to see, I had my friends calling me saying, oh, is this the thing that you are participating in? Because I had left from church to go there, and they saw the T-shirts all over the city, people walking around picking up garbage and building things and painting. It was just amazing. So if you haven't seen the pictures on Facebook, I would highly encourage that people do that. And hopefully it becomes an annual event just to pull that energy together and bring people together, people from all the different churches, just to show their love of our city. We have a great community in Federal Way, and I'm glad I'm a part of it.
Thank you. Lydia, thank you for sharing that. I totally, that day, that event, my girlfriend and I were able to participate in that, and that just blew me away. I mean, how awesome is it that we live in a community where we help one another? And it was just incredible just to see about 700 to 800 people. I know I'm kind of repeating everything, but it was just amazing. And I think it will keep happening, hopefully this year and next year. And I hope that the city can be maybe more engaged. It was great to see John Fairbanks at this event as well with the city used vehicles. I think the city did play a role in this, but I'd love to see maybe a greater role being played. This was just a powerful, powerful event. And thanks for reminding me, Lydia. I appreciate that.
All right. With that, we are adjourned. Thank you.